All right, we are up. Okay, so the agenda for today, we have two awesome presenters, actually three. We've got Adrian Shepard, who's going to be presenting on building a voiceover booth, which is something that I'm very interested in. I'd love to have one, a professional one in my house, something that actually sounds really good. And then Dennis Hall is going to be presenting on learning management moving forward. And then just a really quick presentation at the end. Ant, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, Ant Pugh. Let me know if that was wrong. He'll also introduce himself. But
that was right. Well done.
Okay, perfect. Great. Is going to, he's kind of been thinking of some solutions for us, and so he's going to present just like a 5-minute presentation on Slack. What is it and why would we possibly use it? It's a way to keep up with each other. So for today, this is the agenda, and next week, just so everyone knows, we're actually going to do a different format. Alex came up with this format, and so I'll kind of do a formal introduction to Alex next week. But it's basically going to be a panel of e-learning experts, and then what will happen is we will be able to ask questions, and then it'll be more interactive and conversational. So we'll also have a presenter next week as well, and so it'll be like half-time presenter, half-time where we're actually in a conversation. So we'll try that out and see how it goes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and our first presenter today is going to be Adrian, and I will let him go ahead and introduce himself and maybe tell us, you know, just something about yourself, Adrian, and feel free to start sharing your screen when you're ready. And yeah, there you go. Adrian, are you there?
Yeah, but I've lost control.
You've lost control?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me.
Yes.
I don't see my screen sharing options or anything like that. Are you seeing my screen at all or anything?
No, we're not seeing your screen. Let me see if I can. I'm going to make you the host, see if that fixes it. So kind of move your mouse down at the bottom of the screen, kind of hover at the bottom, and then you should see the share screen option.
No, I've got none of those, I'm afraid. Hang on.
Okay.
I just had to take it out of full screen size. Here we go. How's that?
Yep,
perfect. We can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Sorry about that.
Really quick, that's okay. Just before Adrian gets started, everyone, if you will put yourself on mute if you're not presenting, that way we don't have any crazy background noise. We all know what that sounds like. So, all right, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Patty. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone, wherever you are. As Patty said, today I'm going to talk about how I built my own voiceover booth. Here's a picture from the outside. As you can see, it's still pretty new. In fact, I've only just finished putting the walls up a few weeks ago. I've added some acoustic treatment inside and already purchased my recording equipment, but painting the walls hasn't quite got to the top of the to-do list yet. I thought, as well as talking about the actual sound booth, I would say a bit about why I use VoiceOver with my training, give you some details on the actual audio equipment I chose, and then finish off with, if we have time, with a quick demo of the workflow I use to get voiceover recordings into Articulate Storyline, which is my tool of choice. So anyway, first though, I thought I should do a little bit about me, just to say how I became an e-learning freelancer. So after university, I spent 13 years working in the broadcast TV industry here in the UK, specialised in post-production editing. The UK industry went through a bit of turmoil in the late 1980s, so I moved to a manufacturer called Avid Technology. Avid sells editing tools and associated shared storage and media technology. And they're probably best known for Media Composer and Pro Tools, DigiDesign, editing, and Sibelius music composition software. So while at Avid, I became a technical trainer, and then 10 years ago, I set up a small group designing and delivering internal product training, and this was for sales and support and for the reseller channel, and it was for worldwide. There were only 3 of us in the group that were running this, so we were either going to clock up a heck of a lot of air miles or become experts at running webinars and creating e-learning pretty quickly. We actually did a bit of both to start with, but the products gradually became more biased to software only, and so we could focus on just using e-learning to deliver the training. Then unfortunately in 2012, or fortunately as it turned out, I was made redundant from Avid. I was a casualty of a 20% staff reduction and left wondering what to do. Now I know last week Christy said that a lot of her work comes from ex-colleagues and people she met through the industry she's in. And the same was true with the broadcast world. It's a small world, and I soon had requests to create product training for other companies. And so I set up my own e-learning company, and I called it Link Learning. I try to offer a specialist service combining my technical expertise together with e-learning design. So I create product training such as getting started, tutorials, hardware and software simulations, job aids, and blended components, which I've just finished doing some of those for technical classroom training. And this year, another thing, I just got married as well, so I just wanted to mention that. And my wife is lovely, and she teaches 5- and 6-year-olds at school, so it's quite interesting for us to compare our different training delivery methods. Okay, so let's get down to creating VoiceOver for e-learning. And I was thinking there are a number of reasons why I use VoiceOver for my e-learning content. The first is, to be honest, I'm quite lazy when it comes to learning new things. I'd rather have someone talk me through it rather than read it. You know, reading books or reading the manual, it's the last thing I usually do. Also, of course, many of us learn better when there's auditory stimulation as well as visual. And obviously there are some types of training, such as that software training, where it's a lot cleaner to do a show and tell than have a screen full of instructions. And indeed, many types of training, it means you don't have to display all the information on the screen if you have a narration. So your graphics and text can just represent the key points, while you can embellish and add anecdotes into the voiceover. There are, of course, some things you have to be aware of when creating voiceover or narration. For a start, it's going to take a lot longer. You may have to allow up to about 50%, so it's going to affect the budget. There may be, of course, that budget time, it's involved in writing a script, recording a voiceover, or someone else having to record the voiceover. May have to add changes to the voiceover, so it might be a few cycles in doing that. And I always time in the visual elements to go with the voiceover, so it all makes sense. And you can build up your screens like that. There are, of course, some factors that you have to bear in mind when delivering audio. The students have to be able to listen to the audio, so they have to have the equipment at their end. If they don't have the computers or the headphones or whatever to do that, then no point including audio. The environment as well, if it's going to be going to a very noisy environment or a quiet environment, you have to bear that in mind. And obviously, if anyone has any disabilities. One thing that I always try and bear in mind is that my audience may not be native English speakers, so I always try and include a transcript with the audio so they have that to refer to as well. So when I first started working as a freelancer, I needed to set up voiceover recording really quickly. I had read some reports about different microphones. One of them came recommended was the Blue Snowball microphone for doing voiceover. It sells from Amazon for about £50. And by the way, on the equipment, I'm trying to put the US dollar price in there as well as the UK pound price, just so you've got that as a reference. Of course, you need a pop filter to go with your microphone to cut out those vocal explosive puff sounds. And this Blue Snowball mic, it's a condenser mic, so it's quite good quality. It produces a USB output, which I needed to connect to my MacBook Pro at 44.1 kilohertz and 16-bit. One of the nice features with the Snowball is you can switch the pattern in which it actually picks up the sound. So you can switch between omnidirectional, where it'll pick up sound from anywhere around, which you don't really want. What you want is a cardioid mic, so that's a sort of heart-shaped pattern which focuses on picking up the sound from the front and less from the sides and rears. So that's what you want for good vocal work. The other thing with the Snowball is it will work with an iPad, which is quite handy if you want to do any portable setup, any mobile setup. I noticed last week when Shannon was talking as well that she uses another mic from Blue called the Yeti. I don't have any experience with that. It's about twice the price of the Snowball, but Shannon may be able to comment on that, or you might want to drop her a line if you want to ask her about the Yeti mic. Now, for the actual location for doing the recording, I was doing it in our study. There aren't any curtains at the windows there, and there's just a few pictures on the walls. So I had quite a lot of reverberation or echo in the room. To be honest, it's beginning to sound a bit like a bathroom. You don't want that. So the next thing I did was to try and deaden the room a bit. Now, I don't like it when the mic or the sound sounds like it's in a completely dead room, because that sounds false or wrong. So I just try and deaden it enough so it sounds natural. And I started with one of these, which was a portable recording, a portable vocal booth. And that works quite well. It certainly contains some of the initial reflections to the rear, but it didn't do enough in the room that I was in. So I added to that Heath Robertson, some telescopic curtain poles that have spring-loaded, the type of thing you might put a shower curtain on, hung some blankets around the room. The reason I did this was I didn't want to put it in permanently. I want to be able to return the room back to normal. Otherwise, I don't want to upset the new wife with messing around with the house like this. And it did the job. You know, as silly as it seems, a lot of sound guys will use blankets and other material to deaden a room like that. So it's a good way of fixing it. Now, the next thing, of course, to add to the setup is something to read the script from. So I found that the portable booth could support an iPad mount. So I put one of those on. The iPad is ideal as a script reading device because it's silent. Batteries last for a long time, maybe a day or two. So it was really ideal for that. And I'll go more into my workflow with Storyline in a bit as to how I get the script onto there. It's quite a neat workflow. I use the open source software Audacity on a MacBook Pro to do the recording and editing. And to monitor my audio, I use some Bose QC15 headphones, which have noise cancelling. That way I can easily check whether any clicks or pops or anything on the recording really is on the recording, or it wasn't just something on the central heating in the background. So I like using those. Now, as I say, you may well be thinking that this is not really looking like a proper voiceover booth, and you'd be right, but I just wanted to show you how I started and that this setup did the job well enough. And if you're only doing occasional narration from time to time, you might find that something similar to this is good enough for what you want to do. Where we live, though, I'm not far from Heathrow Airport near London. There are aircraft, if I'm on the wrong flight pattern for them, coming overhead, occasional lorries passing the house, gardeners in the next garden with leaf blowers and lawnmowers. And I found the Snowball mic is quite sensitive to picking up these noises. So it interrupts the recording, have to pause or even give up and come back again a bit later. So the freelance work had been going well. I decided that I had enough finance to pay the bills, maybe a time to invest in a bit better equipment and maybe a dedicated space for recording. So I started with upgrading the mic. And 2 mics were recommended by friends and colleagues in the industry. These are mics that are aimed at radio or voice work. One is the Electro Voice RE20, and the other on the right there, the Shure SM7B. Both are cardioid mics. The Electro Voice a little bit more expensive at £370 compared to £310 for the Shure, but I didn't go on price alone. One report said the Electro Voice was more forgiving on stage when picking up sound, and you didn't have to talk directly into the mic so much. So I thought the fact that you had to sit in front of the mic is going to be a bit more selective. So that governed my decision, along with the fact that it has a lot of really good recommendations as well. The Shure comes with its own pop filter, which you see mounted on the mic here. I didn't need to add another pop filter. There's also a couple of switches on the back of the mic where you can add some basic EQ. So you can see that they've got a nice little graphical display there. You can add some bass roll-off and add some mid-range emphasis if you want to. I just run the mic flat, but if you maybe had some air conditioning noise, something low frequency, then maybe the bass roll-off would work well there. I have to say, having used the mic now for quite a few weeks, I'm really impressed with it and really happy with my purchase. Well worth the money. Now, with this type of mic, of course, it needs a preamp. It's just got a balanced audio output to an XLR connector. So you need to bring the levels up to line level. And to connect to the computer, I'd rather bringing it over USB, because that means the analog to digital conversion is external to the computer, and you're probably going to get a lot better quality external to the computer than doing it in the computer. So I was searching for a preamp. As it happened, one of the LinkedIn groups, one of the Articulate-based LinkedIn groups, one of the guys recommended this one, which is a Sound Devices Mix Pre-D. D stands for digital. It's not cheap. It comes in at £660, which when you compare it to the mic, it's about twice the price of the mic. But it is the sort of device that any professional audio recorder would be happy to have in his bag. It's got the full range of inputs and outputs, phantom power, supports digital AES audio as well, rugged design. You can run it on 2 AA batteries if you want to, or an external power supply. You can use it on a camera shoot because it's got a slate mic and tone oscillator on there. The big things for me, though, is the fact it's got a high quality 24-bit analog to digital conversion, goes up to 96 kilohertz. When you install it on a PC or a Mac, you don't have to install any other drivers, any other software. It just looks like a mic input to the computer. So it's very easy to connect to your computer. The other thing that I like is it's got a 16-segment LED meter, so I can easily see where my mic levels are set. And I like to be able to tweak my levels as I'm going. Plus, there is a limiter built in, so you can set this limiter, which is supposed to be an unclippable limiter. So any pops or clicks, or if you raise your levels too high, then the limiter will actually not clip and distort your audio. It will bring in attenuation, so the audio never gets clipped, which means you always maintain good quality. It also has a bass roll-off. We can select between 80 and 160 hertz. So like the Shure mic, you can roll off any bass, fan sounds, mains hum, things like that. Now, I've used the Mix Pre for a few weeks as well, like the mic. Really happy with the way it performs, but the one big gripe I have against it, particularly considering the price, is that it didn't come with an external power supply. I guess with Sound Devices, they produce a lot of audio equipment which runs on common power supplies. So a broadcast audio guy may well have other power supplies that would easily supply this device because it uses a standard high-rose 4-pin power plug, which is common in the broadcast market. So what I did, they actually provide you the pin out in the instructions. I built my own little power adapter. I actually used an old Braun Razor adapter, which is outputting 12 volts. Cost me the price of the high-rose plug, but a bit annoying that having paid that amount of money, I had to build my own just to fit an external power. And that sort of brings me on to,
Adrian, I just wanted to give you a quick time. Yeah, just a quick time check. You've got about 4 minutes left, just so you know. Okay,
thanks.
Yeah.
So coming on to, there are alternatives on the market. In fact, when you look at the Amazon for the Shure mic, you'll see Focusrite comes up as a suggested hardware. So I haven't used Focusrite. Here I'm showing on the top the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, which has one preamp. They have other boxes which have multiple preamps in them, like the 2i2, which has two preamps. It's a long-standing company. There may be other people on the call who have used Focusrite. It's got 24-bit conversion in there, so maybe worth considering. It doesn't have the metering on the front that I like with the other preamp, the Mix Pre-D, and it doesn't have the limiter in there as well. So that's why I went for the Mix Pre-D. So onto the booth itself. I started looking at these self-contained booths, but they're really, really expensive, several £1,000s. So I went around the house, and after you've been doing recording in your house, you begin to get a feel of where the noises come from and the best place in the house. So I found a corner in the house against an outside wall, talked to Sue, and she said, yes, okay, I can build a booth there. Came up with a plan. Here's the dimensions I used. Takes a table and chair quite nicely in there. The angled wall I put in to try and reduce internal reflections, because a lot of studio booths, broadcast booths, have angled glass and windows to cut down internal reflections. The walling was just a stud wall with soundproofing in there, so it's a wood wall with plasterboard with soundproofing. I had that built for me, and the guy hung the door. I bought a fire door, because that's extra thick and heavy, so works really well as sound deadening. And I was lucky that the company I bought the fire door, they were actually having a sale, and the fire door was cheaper than a normal door. So a bit of a bonus there. The cost of materials and labour came to about £1,000, so it's about £2,000 or £3,000 cheaper than buying one of those standalone units. And I've done some measurements, and I get about a 13 to 15 dB isolation in there. So that's good enough for isolating the aircraft sounds. I never have to stop recording now, which is what I wanted. I've achieved my goal. Some of you might have noticed that I have no rugs hanging around in my booth now, which is nice. I've got these panels. I bought a room kit of panels, which consists of 24 tiles and 4 bass traps. Now, the bass traps are important because the lower frequencies tend to congregate in the corner of the room, and so the placing of them is really important. The sound can be up to 6 to 12 dBs louder in the corner, so you need thicker foam to prevent the bass from going around the room, but you need to get that thicker foam in the corner, so make sure you get bass traps in there. The other tiles for the walls and ceilings I built into a frame like this. Sorry, someone's unmuted their mic. Noise on the line. I'll keep going anyway. I built the tiles as a packet of 4, or a frame of 4 into a wood frame. They're really light tiles. Just simple glue and screw at the joints, some old sheeting and some spray adhesive to hold the tiles in place, and then cover them with some Hessian and hang them from a hook so they look a lot cleaner. You don't have to position you don't have to get tiles all around the room, because that deadens it. So position the acoustic panels at the same height as the sound source, so at the same height as my mouth, basically. So you'll see that the height of them is just above the chair in the picture there, because that's where the sound source is coming from. That's where the echoes, reflections will come off. And I put one on the ceiling as well. So that completes the sort of first part of my demo. I don't know if I've got 5 minutes to go through the workflow, Patty, or if we want to stop there for more Q&A.
You know what? Let's make it up to the group. Does anybody have any questions so far? If you've got questions, then we'll go ahead and stop here and take them. Otherwise, then we'll just let Adrian run quickly through the rest of this demo of the workflow. Don't everyone talk at once.
I'm not looking at the chat, Patty, so you can advise me of the
answers there. Okay, they are saying they want to see your workflow. So we won't do a Q&A, but the good thing is we can post it on, what Ant maybe is going to show us later, and we can, have Q&A through the week about this. So keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So ready prepared here with Storyline, which has a notes panel like PowerPoint does. So if anyone doesn't know Storyline, this training here was a training on a product called Card Agent, which is a tool for bringing in media from camera cards by a company called Route 6. So they had no branding. I came up with a bit of sort of secret agent branding, which is this is my introduction to one of the modules in the training. So I use the notes area to write my script. It means later on I can also use that to show it as a transcript for those non-English native speakers. So if I show you the other slides, each slide has got the script in there. The nice thing with Storyline is that you can publish to a Word document. Obviously you can publish to Flash and HTML5 and LMS and everything else. But in the Word output, you can publish your slide notes and a representative graphic as well. So I have one already prepared here. Here's the Word document that you get out of Storyline. So there's the representative graphic and the slide notes, the script. So what I then do, here's the Word document in a folder. I put the Word document into Google Drive, and that then automatically synchronizes to my iPad. So my iPad's there is the script reader, gone to the iPad, into Google Drive. There's the script document. It launches Google Doc, and there I am reading the script. So if I just bring up Audacity next. So Audacity I use, it's open source, free to download. I find it a really nice, simple tool. It does exactly what I need for doing voiceover recording. If you're looking for a tool, then this is the one I'd recommend. You can select your input device here. If I turn on monitoring here, you can set your microphone level. So let's just do a quick recording here and edit it. So this topic is a quick overview of the Card Agent user interface. The interface is made up of several expanding panels, so I will introduce you to each panel and give you a few tips on navigating around. The later topics in this training will then focus in more detail on each panels. So the obvious little hum in the middle there, and you might want to take this out, so it's very easy, just position the cursor, play the audio, give you a few tips on navigating around. Select the region that you want to remove, hit the delete key, just as you would in a normal editor. I might want to take out a breath and make silence just at the beginning, so I go to generate, just generate a bit of silence there, so I've got a smooth start now. I can easily zoom in and out on the waveform with keyboard controls, so you quickly get used to recognizing vocal sounds in the waveform, being able to cut out clicks and pops and things like that. To export the sound, I just go to the File menu and Export. Now I use MP3 to export to. You could export it uncompressed, but the files get quite big. I do quite a lot of voiceover, so this is the voiceover files, so it will get quite a lot of files to store. So you have to install the separate plugin for Audacity. The website talks you through the plugin. It's very simple to do. For the MPEG-3 settings, I use the best quality, 320 kilobits per second. Out of interest, when I publish out a Storyline, I set it to 96 kilobits per second. But keeping the best quality here means I can always go back and re-edit it without degrading the quality too much. Now, where I save it to is important streamlining the workflow. It's a Dropbox folder, so as soon as I save it in here, it will sync through Dropbox. As soon as I get back to my editing station outside of the vocal booth, then it's already synced and I can drop that into my timeline in Storyline and away I go. And the naming convention I use for all my files is I use the slide number in Storyline, so I can easily pick that up and drop it back in. So here we go, and just save this out. And then quickly back to Storyline, go to Insert from the top bar here, pick an audio file. There's my 4A that I created, and it's importing, and there we go into the timeline. And then I'd animate my visual items with the timeline using maybe the cue in storyline to queue up, play it through, hit cue points, and time them up that way so everything appears in time with the narration. And that's it, Patty.